Hello everybody and welcome back to another RevWise video. Today I'm back after a long time, after my summer holidays and a lot of work that I had to do, but I'm back and able to make a biology paper 1 video, one of my favorite papers to do. And just a reminder that even if you do triple award, you still have to do this paper. It's really important as it's actually worth more marks than the paper 2. So yeah, everyone has to learn this paper. It's quite a long paper. Quite difficult a lot of the time, but I'm sure you can do it. It actually becomes really easy if you know what you're doing. And after watching my guides, I'm sure you will all know what you are doing. So let's just get straight into it. So before I started this video, I actually did a brief inspection on the first few questions because I wanted to make sure this was a suitable paper with good content in it. And yeah, I think it has some really important topics to touch on, so I chose this paper. And also another thing to note is I will not be completing the entire paper in this video. If you would like me to complete the whole paper, just tell me in the comments below and I'll finish the rest of the questions. But I was thinking of attempting something new where I let you guys do some of the questions on your own, because I feel like if I go through the whole paper, you don't have the opportunity to do the questions on your own. But if you would like me to do all the questions, I can also do that. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, so question number 1. So this one was about different hormones produced by endocrine glands, pretty common, pretty big topic. And it shows us the different endocrine glands in the body, right? So it asks us which one produces insulin. Well, from theoretical knowledge, we should know it's the pancreas and we should know it's A, right? But if we didn't know it's A, right off the bat, we should immediately eliminate D and C, right? Because we know that insulin, just from common knowledge, that insulin is actually in both men and women, because it's a vital hormone that we need to survive, right? So, we can eliminate D and C immediately because D is something that's only present in females and C is only present in males. So we can eliminate those immediately. And that gives us a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So these are just some of the strategies you guys can do when you're doing your exam that'll help you get closer to the answer even if you're not 100% sure. But this is pretty simple. You should know that A is the pancreas and that's where insulin is produced. Now II tells us which produces progesterone. Now again, from theoretical knowledge, we should know that progesterone is involved in the menstrual cycle. It's involved in maintaining the uterine lining, keeping the thickness maintained. And we know the menstrual cycle is exclusive to females, and D gives us, basically tells us that that one is exclusive to females, and we should know that the ovaries are responsible. So II is D. Okay, B. Oh, this was the question that got me to choose this paper, actually. It's a pretty nice question, and I think it's something that a lot of people forget to study. It's these database questions, and they seem very simple at once, but I'm telling you, when you're doing the paper in the stress conditions, you can really get caught up by these ones. Now, this question basically tells us that hormones travel at a speed of this, and nerve impulses travel at a speed of this. And it's asking us to make a ratio of the speed of nervous communication to the speed of hormonal communication in the form n/1. Okay, so it's going to be something to 1. Now, the first thing to look at when they give you speeds in these types of questions is what is the units, because that's where it tries to catch you out. Well, you can see right here the speed is 420 centimeters per minute, whereas here the speed is 55 meters per second. Those are completely different units. Now, in these cases, it's always better to convert to the unit that you're more familiar with and that's more commonly used. And in this case, meters per second is much simpler than centimeters per minute. So we're going to just convert to that. So how do we do that? Well, first thing, let's do it in steps. So let's convert 420 centimeters per minute to centimeters per minute. Let's convert that to meters per minute. And we do that by dividing 420 by 100, because we know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So we get 4.2 meters per minute. But we need meters per second. So how do we get that? Well, we divide by 60, right? Because 60 seconds in a minute. And we do 4.2 divided by 60 to get 0.02 meters per second. Now, we can clearly see that 55 meters per second is much larger than 420 meters per 0.07 meters per second. But it's asking us to make the ratio of n/1, right? This is not a ratio of 55 to 0.07. So we need to be able to get to some sort of whole number ratio. So how do we do that? Well, you can see here that basically all you have to do is just divide the larger number by the smaller number in order to get the ratio. So 55 divided by 0.07, and we get 786, and that gives us the answer 786 to 1. Good question. Okay, I. Describe 3 other differences between the nervous system and the hormonal system. Okay? It's asking us for differences between these 2 systems, and it's basically just testing our theoretical knowledge. So let's see. One difference we should be able to immediately check is just by looking at the names. We know nervous has to do with nerves, right? And what kind of cells make up these nerves? What kind of brain cells are there? Well, we have nerves and we have neurons, right? Neurons are an important type of cell that you are familiar with from the brain unit. So I'm sure you know what neurons are. Essentially, they're brain cells. So the nervous system uses neurons, uses nerves, and it uses electrical signals, right? Right. That's the point for the nervous system. Whereas the hormonal system doesn't. You don't have to be specific in that. You can just say it doesn't, right? This is GCSE. You don't have to really elaborate on the other condition. Just say that hormonal system doesn't have that, whereas nervous system does have that. Okay. Now, what's another thing? Well, the nervous system impulses go to the target cells only, right? Remember that the hormonal system is usually unspecific. It acts on a large area of the body at a time, whereas these nerve impulses, they're really specific to certain areas of the body, right? So that's another point. And I'm not going to write the whereas the hormonal system acts on a large area, but I'm just going to say that so you guys understand what I'm saying. And also it results in a short-term response, right? We should know this. These nervous impulses are short-term and hormonal system usually longer-term. And yeah, those are the answers. And make sure after you state your statement for the nervous system, say something after like, whereas the hormonal system doesn't. Just say something like that just to make sure you get the mark, because it's asking you to say the differences, right? Not just describe the nervous system. So yeah. Okay, question 2. Biologists classify organisms into different groups. One group of organisms is fungi. Complete the passage about fungi by writing a suitable word or words in each blank space. Okay, fungi do not carry out photosynthesis. Their body is usually organized into a mycelium made from thread-like structures called... Well, this is actually testing quite a specific part of your knowledge, but you should know this. These thread-like structures in fungi are called hyphae. And I'll tell you something. 90% of the time when you get a question about fungi, and it's like quite a long question, they'll ask usually about 2 things. Extracellular secretion of digestion enzymes. That's one thing they'll make you remember. And also the fact that fungi have hyphae, right? And hyphae are just these thread-like structures that form a mycelium. And that's just all you have to know about fungi, basically. Oh, and one more important thing is this one. Fungal cell walls are made of... This is a really important thing to remember, because a lot of people just get stuck and they're like, oh, it must be cellulose, right? Like plants? No, it's actually something completely different. It's something called chitin. C-H-I-T-I-N, chitin. And that is what fungal cell walls are made out of. Now, fungi feed by extracellular secretion of something onto food. Well, this is actually enzymes. You can actually say digestive enzymes. That'd be good, but enzymes works here as well. And absorption of the products. This is known as something nutrition. Now, what is that? Well, this is actually quite difficult. I mean, I'm just thinking now, when I was in GCSE, if I would have gotten this question right. I mean, maybe, if depending on how hard I would have studied on the day. But yeah, quite a difficult question. But I know what they're doing now. I know what the answer is now, as I'm much more experienced now. But essentially, this is sapotrophic nutrition, right? Sapotrophic, sapophytic. Just essentially know that fungi is a sapotroph and engaged in sapotrophic nutrition, which is basically secreting enzymes externally to digest the food. Okay, next up, a student investigates the effect of temperature on the rate of anaerobic respiration in yeast. Student measures the rate of gas produced in centimeters cubed per minute. The graph shows results. Okay, standard graph here for rate of gas produced and temperature. Name the gas produced by yeast during anaerobic respiration. Well, this is easy peasy. We should know that this is carbon dioxide. Okay. Explain the effect that increasing temperature has on the production by the yeast. Well, it's saying explain here, so we don't describe the graph, because if you do that, we're going to get basically 0 marks, right? What we have to do is explain why the graph is the way that it is. So what we're saying is, at higher temperatures, there is more kinetic energy, so molecules move more. Okay, this results in more frequent collisions per unit time, resulting in more enzyme substrate complexes being formed. Okay, and now we have to mention something that we see in the graph where the rate of gas produced actually plummets over here around 37 degrees, right? So we'll mention that as well because it's 3 marks, so we need to mention that. So we can say above 37 degrees the enzyme denatures, and that's our explanation. That's why the rate produces, meaning the active site changes shape, and the substrate can no longer bind. There we go. I think you could say this in a much shorter way and still get all 3 marks, but this is just so you guys have a good understanding and understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah. Okay, triple I. Describe how the student could measure the rate of gas production in this experiment. Well, essentially, it's pretty simple. So we're doing gas collection. So we're measuring gas. So what do we need? We need a gas syringe, right? So use a gas syringe to collect gas in, measure volume over time. That's it. I know it seems really simple. It's kind of confusing, but yeah, don't trip yourself up. It's just that simple. Only 2 marks. How would you measure rate of gas production? Well, you would get a gas syringe and measure volume of gas over time. Okay, 3. Vital capacity is the maximum volume of air a person can force out of their lungs in one breath. The graph shows the relationship between vital capacity and age for a large number of people. Okay, state what vital capacity. The vital capacity plotted is a median value for each age. State what is meant by the term median. Oh, this is such an annoying question because if when you do math, I mean, you know what a median is, but stating it in words is not that self-explanatory. But essentially in biology, when we say median, what they're asking for you to say is the middle value, right? Don't trip yourself up. Don't confuse yourself. Don't think about like everything you learned. Just think of it as the middle value and you will get your mark. Okay, give a reason why the median is used other than the mean. Another quite difficult question because we always usually view the mean as being more reliable, but why would we choose the median than the mean? Well, one reason is that using a median means that when we have large outliers that don't fit in the trend of the data, right, that will be less affected. And I'll just give you an example here. Let's say we have a list which is like 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 100, right? Now, the mean of this would be greatly affected by the 100, right? It would not be anywhere close to the other numbers because 100 is such a large anomaly. But the median, on the other hand, well, you just cross a number, so 1, 1, and you get a nice median. You get a nice median of 2. So the median stays at a number that's close to the actual trend of the data, whereas the mean is what you call skewed. That's the word you're supposed to use, skewed. So one reason to use the median is that the median is less affected by anomalies, right? It reduces the effect of extreme values that may skew the data. That's a perfect answer, and I hope you understand that. Okay, triple I. Describe the relationship between vital capacity and age shown in the graph. It's a describe question, so we have to make reference to the graph and describe it. Well, let's look at key points. Well, we can see it's increasing at a pretty rapid rate until around 25. Okay, and then we can see it's peaking here, it's leveling off, and then it's decreasing at a relatively consistent rate from this 25 to 80 years. So how do we say this? Well, there is a steep increase up until 25 years, at which it plateaus. After this, the vital capacity experiences a gradual decline as the ages increase. Okay, now we have the expected question: explain why vital capacity decreases with age. So why are we able to have less volume exhaled by our lungs in one breath as we get older? Well, let's think. Well, basically, from the trend that we see, right, we can see that from 0 to 25 or something, our vital capacity is increasing rapidly. So why could that be? Well, we're growing, right? As a child, we're growing from 0 to 25. We're still growing, getting larger. So what this means is our body size is becoming larger. And another we can say is just we're growing, right? We're growing. And this means our chest cavity becomes larger. Okay, you can say our lungs become larger, our chest cavity, just anything, right? And then after this, we can say there's little growth in the short period after. So I'm saying like 20 to 25, you can see there's like not much growth as we stop growing, right? We stop growing our vital capacity. But what about the decline? Well, why could we decline as the years go down? Well, we know as we become older, our muscles become weaker. And one important muscle that we use in our lungs to breathe is the intercostal muscles, right? We can also mention the diaphragm, as that's an important part. So our intercostal muscles, the ones between our ribs, and diaphragm becomes weaker. So the lungs become less elastic, and of course this will decrease the amount of air we can force out. Pretty challenging question, but good question. Now, age is not the only variable that can affect vital capacity. Give two other factors. Well, one should just burst into your head. Think about what can decrease our capacity of our lungs. Of course, it's smoking. Very, very easy. And the other one, there's a multitude of answers you can pick from, but a simple one is just a disease, right? Lung disease. And then you can mention one. It would probably be better. So one that you learn is bronchitis, emphysema, and then whatever else you can think of. Other ones to think about, maybe like body size, sex, pregnancy, pollution, things like that. But these are two of the simplest ones. Okay, 3 more. Describe a method which you could use to demonstrate the effects of exercise on the breathing rate of students. Well, we're going to need to formulate a nice methodology here. So how could we do this? So it's breathing rate, right? Effect of exercise. So what could we do? Well, first things first, let's check how we're going to establish breathing rate. So we'll count the breaths per minute, right? We can say breaths per any given time, but I think minutes is easier. Okay? And then we can say we can do this while the child is in neutral condition, like relaxing, and we can say do it while the child is the students are exercising, right? So measure this during exercise, not after, because we're doing the effect of exercise. This was what got me to think. So measure this during exercise, and then we would repeat this with a large number of participants, okay, And then we can just make sure to control the sex, age, fitness, that kind of thing, right? This one got me to think. Quite an interesting question, but we'll move on. And sorry, everybody, I'm going to have to cut it short because I'm kind of running tight on time with some of my assignment deadlines, but I will do the rest of the past paper if you want me to. Just tell me in the comments and I will do the rest. Maybe not in one whole video because it's quite long, but I will make a couple of videos just to finish that past paper. Just let me know if you want me to do the whole thing or if you guys want to do the questions on your own. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys for the next one.